Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just going to give everyone a few minutes to get in from the lobby. All right, it looks like the number of people coming in has stabilized, so I'm going to get started. A good afternoon and welcome, everyone. I know we've got over 100 registrants for this webinar and their time is valuable, so we're going to get this started. I'm Michelle Colby, and I'm the National Program Leader for Animal Biosecurity here at NIFA. I'm a veterinary epidemiologist and currently the lead national program leader for NIFA's veterinary service programs, which include the Veterinary Medicine Loan Repayment Program and the Veterinary Services Grant Program. I'm going to ask Jennifer to move to the next slide, and we'll go over a few logistics, and then I'll ask the rest of the team to introduce themselves. So, before the rest of the team introduces themselves, I did want to cover a few logistical reminders. This webinar is being recorded. All microphones should be muted automatically, but if you unmute to ask a question, please be sure to mute your microphone when you are done. Rather than the chat box, we'll be using the Q&A function. So please type any questions you have there, and we'll do our best to respond to them before the end of the webinar, either in writing or verbally. Finally, once we're finished, the slides and recordings of this webinar will be posted to the same page that you used to register. Jennifer's going to put that link in the chat so it's available, but it's also on the slide. Processing might take a day or two, so please give us until the end of the week to get this posted, and then we're going to move on to introductions. So I've already introduced myself, and I will turn it over to Marlene Azevedo, our program coordinator.
Hi, I'm Marlene Azevedo, and I'm the program coordinator for VMLRP.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Danielle Farley. I'm a program specialist, and I work with VMLRP, VSGP, and several other programs here at NIFA.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Stratman, and I'm also a program specialist for VMLRP, VSGP, and several other programs as well. And on to Meredith.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Meredith Berry, and I am the Program Support Assistant for VMLRP, VSGP, and several other animal systems programs. Michelle?
Thanks, everyone. Jennifer, we go to the next slide. So we've got about 45 minutes of material to cover, which should leave us about 15 minutes to respond to questions. Again, please feel free to post your questions in the Q&A session as you have them, so we can be prepared to start responding right away. If we go to the next slide, we're just going to start with a very brief overview of NIFA. So NIFA is the science funding agency of USDA. We invest in and support initiatives like the VMLRP that ensure the long-term viability of U.S. agriculture. In addition to funding, NIFA provides scientific and strategic leadership for programs that directly benefit U.S. farmers, ranchers, and producers. Next slide, Jennifer. To that end, NIFA has a broad portfolio of programs that cover many topics, including animal and plant health and production, food science, security and safety, and veterinarians. We recognize that veterinarians play a key role in many of these priorities. Next slide. Now we'll transition to a high-level overview of VMLRP, and there will be additional details to follow. The purpose of the VMLRP is to ensure that the U.S. has sufficient food animal veterinarians in all areas where they are needed. To accomplish this, we seek to incentivize veterinarians to serve in identified shortage areas in exchange for assistance in repaying the loans that they incurred during their veterinary education. Our goal with each funding opportunity is to fund qualified veterinarians who are well matched with shortage areas that are identified by the state animal health officials. Ensuring that applicants are well matched to these shortage areas contributes to our overall goal of supporting the key long-term sustainability of these veterinarians in both private and public practice shortage areas. Next slide. So to be eligible to receive an award as a new applicant, you must address the following items. You must meet all the requirements outlined in 7 CFR 3431.10. Don't worry about the numbers. We will provide details on this in a few slides. You must have a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine or equivalent degree prior to the start of the service agreement of that application year from a College of Veterinary Medicine accredited by the AVMA Council on Education. You must have a minimum qualifying DVM educational loan debt of at least $15,000 from a lender capable of accepting incoming automated clearinghouse ACH payments, so that those e-check payments at the application submission deadline date. You must also have an offer of employment or establish and or maintain a practice in a NIFA designated veterinary shortage situation within the time period specified in the VMLRP agreement offer. Currently, this is within 3 months of the start date of your agreement. The start date of applicants offered awards under this NOFA will be January 1st, 2027. You must also provide certifications and verifications as defined in 7 CFR Part 3431.16. This includes a statement in your narrative of how you will address the shortage area to which you are applying. And if you are offered an award, loan documentation to finalize the award amount, and proof that you are licensed to practice and accredited to practice within your shortage area or state. You must also not owe an obligation for veterinary service to the federal government, a state, or other entity under an agreement with such a federal, state, or other entity unless you have completely satisfied that entire obligation prior to beginning your service under the VMLRP. If this last one applies to you and you have a question, please feel free to reach out to the contact information we'll supply at the end of this presentation. Some of these we can assess on an individual case-by-case basis about what the particular obligation is. Next slide. So for a renewal application, you must meet all the same requirements as new applicants. For FY26, the renewal applicants must have a VMLRP agreement start date of January 1st, 2022, January 1st, 2023, or January 1st, 2024. Please note that normally this is only 2 years. So this third year, the 2022, is for this NOFO only. We wanted to make sure that people who didn't have the opportunity to renew last year have that opportunity this year. If you are a potential renewal applicant and are uncertain if your VMLRP agreement start date is applicable, you can contact the VMLRP program staff via email. And that email is on the slide, vmlrp.applications@usda.gov, to verify your information. And if you are applying to serve in a veterinary shortage area that is different from the one that you're currently serving in, then you must apply as a new applicant. Please make sure that you know that. If it's a renewal, it's for the service area you're currently serving in. Okay, eligibility to participate. I told you I'd talk about 7 CFR 3431.10. So these requirements are: you must meet the eligibility criteria for applying to the VMLRP, which we covered on the earlier slide. You must be selected for participation through the application review process. This is a competitive peer-reviewed process, and we will provide more details on this part in a bit. You must comply with all state and local regulations. That includes licensure where required in the jurisdiction that you're proposing to practice. That, as I said earlier, that means providing us with documentation of your licensure and accreditation if you're offered an award. You must be a citizen, national, or permanent resident of the United States. You must also, if offered an award, sign the service agreement to provide veterinary services in one of the shortage situations, and you must comply with all the terms and conditions of your service agreement. Next slide. Okay, so veterinary shortages are nominated each year by state animal health officials or the federal chief veterinary officer for federal shortages, and then designated by the Veterinary Medicine Loan Repayment Program. Applicants can apply to serve one designated veterinary shortage area. If there are two that include an area in which you practice, our advice to you is that you review both and select the one you feel you can provide the strongest case regarding your ability to address the shortage fully. You can view which veterinary shortage areas are available for application on the Veterinary Services Shortage Area Situation Maps, which is available at the link that Jennifer will provide in the chat and is also right here on the slide. Shortage situations for FY26 were posted on January 5th, 2026. And these shortage areas are used by the peer review panel to evaluate each applicant's ability to address the shortage area. So this is something you should really consider strongly when preparing your narrative. You should have the shortage area right beside you and be looking at that when you're writing your narrative. Next slide. I'm going to talk a little bit about the types of veterinary shortage situations. There are 3 different types, and only one shortage type can be designated per nomination. Shortage types are classified based on the percent of full-time equivalent, or FTE, and practice type. The FTE is the number of working hours that represents one full-time or 100% FTE employee during a fixed time. This equates to a 40-hour work week. We recognize that for many of you, a 40-hour work week would be a dream. So we base our service hours on that. If you're working additional hours, that's your business, not ours. We just need to make sure that you're going to meet these requirements for this award. Type 1 shortage area requires a minimum of an 80% FTE or 32 hours per week commitment. These nominations are intended for shortage situations where the submitting official, generally a state animal health official, believes the veterinarian can operate profitably by committing 80 to 100% of their 40-hour work week to food animal medicine activities based on the client base and other socioeconomic factors impacting viability of veterinary practices in the area. A type 2 shortage area must satisfy the definition of a rural area, and a minimum of 30% FTE commitment, that's 12 hours per week, in a rural shortage situation recognizes that some remote or economically depressed rural areas need food animal veterinary services, but they might not be able to support a practitioner predominantly serving in the food animal sector. So these nominations are intended for shortage situations where the submitting official believes the veterinarian can operate profitably, committing at least 30% of their time to food animal medicine activities based on the client base and other socioeconomic factors impacting viability of veterinary practice in the area. And type 3 shortage areas is a broad nomination category comprised of many types of public service veterinary training and employment areas relating to food supply and public health veterinary workforce capacity and capability. These positions are typically located in city, county, state, or federal governments and institutions of higher education. Examples might include university faculty, staff, residents, veterinary laboratory diagnostician, state veterinarian or epidemiologist, county public health official, USDA FSIS meat inspector or area veterinarian in charge, and federal veterinary medical officers. A minimum of 49% FTE or 19.6 hours per week commitment recognizes that some public service employment opportunities are part-time or only serve food animal veterinary medicine part-time. If we move to the next page. So cost sharing or matching, sometimes you'll see this with reference to NIFA awards. In this case, no matching is required, and matching resources will not be factored into the review process as an evaluation criteria. Next slide. So I'm going to talk for a couple slides about application details and documents, and then I'm going to turn it over to Danielle. So we have made, for those of you who have looked at the request for applications in the past or have applied in the past, we've made a few changes in response to the call in USDA's Rural Veterinary Action Plan and other changes over the past year, many of which serves to streamline the application process. So first and foremost, the maximum award amount has been increased to $40,000 per year for three years. And that's then we factor in the additional payment of $15,600 per year to cover the tax liability. So the total maximum award amount is $166,800. And that would be $120,000 for loan repayment and $46,800 for tax liability. There's also new guidance on the professional narrative content and the structure for new and renewal applications. The length of the narrative has been decreased, so pay attention to the guidelines in the notice of funding opportunity. There are also updated evaluation criteria for new and renewal applicants. And then in terms of eligibility for a renewal application, as I mentioned on the earlier slide, because we did not have a NOFO last year, we've extended that eligibility for renewal applicants for this year only to include those with start dates of in 2022, 2023, or 2024. For loan documentation, this has seemed to be a really big pain point with a lot of prior applications in terms of the application deadline. So rather than supplying detailed loan documentation when applying, now all you need to do is attest that you have loans meeting the minimum debt threshold of $15,000 in your initial letter of intent. Then if you are recommended for an award, we will require that you do provide that loan documentation. So if you apply now, while you're waiting to hear back from us would be a good time to start potentially gathering that loan documentation. If your award is recommended, we will request loan documentation be submitted within 14 calendar days of that recommendation. And you can find more information about this in part 6, sorry, Roman numerals are off. Award administration of the notice of funding opportunity. Next slide. So you can find the link to the notice of funding opportunity at the top of this slide, and Jennifer will also add it to the chat. Please note that there are 2 deadlines for this program. Your initial letter of intent must be received by February 19th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, not Central, Western, or Pacific, but Eastern Time. If your LOI is not received, email is not received by 5 p.m. Eastern, you will not be considered this year. This includes an attestation that you meet the minimum eligible debt threshold, also provides your contact information and states your intent to apply. We use this information to establish a virtual folder in the Box platform for your application materials. Once your folder is established, you have until March 5th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, again Eastern, not Central, Western, or Pacific, to submit your completed application materials into your Box folder. NIFA is very strict about enforcing cutoff deadlines to ensure that everyone has the same time and opportunity to apply. This year, we have a minimum of $18 million to fund qualified applicants. This is a significant increase from previous years due to additional funding associated with the Rural Veterinary Action Plan, and this also includes both of our FY25 and our FY26 appropriations, since we did not have a NOFO last year. I will now turn it over to Danielle, who will provide more information on the application documents.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Now we'll discuss the letter of intent, or for short, we call it the LOI. If you plan to submit an application to VMLRP, the first step is to submit a letter of intent. It is a requirement of the program, which is submitted by email stating your intent to apply for VMLRP. As mentioned earlier, the deadline to submit a letter of intent is February 19th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Letters of intent received after this date and time will not be eligible to submit a VMLRP application during the 2026 application cycle. You will send the letter of intent via email to vmlrp.applications@usda.gov. We have a very specific format for the letter of intent, which is provided on page 12 of the VMLRP Notice of Funding Opportunity. To avoid user error, I suggest copying and pasting the format into the body of an email and then add your specific details. The content of the LOI is provided on this slide. Please do not submit this as an attachment. It is meant to be submitted in the body of an email. The email you include will be used to create your Box folder. So keep in mind, if you're applying for a type 3 position, sometimes .gov emails will not work well. Sometimes .edu emails, if you're at a university or a graduating senior, may be restricted. If that happens, please contact our team immediately. Additionally, the phone number you provide should be a phone number we can reach you at if there is an issue with your application. So if you provide your clinic's phone number and there's an issue with Box or your application, we're going to reach out to whatever phone number you provide. If that, it's completely up to you what you want to provide. But just know that's going to be our first line of contact, is that phone number and email. If you submit an LOI incorrectly, we will ask you to resubmit following the guidance on page 12 of the VMLRP NOFO. Upon receipt of an LOI, NIFA staff will create individualized folder for you in box.com that only you and NIFA staff have access to. Applicants will receive a confirmation email after the LOI is received and a folder in box.com is created. The email will include specific instructions for how to upload documents to your individual folder for application submission. An email will also be sent from box.com inviting applicants to access their individual folder for application submission. If you submit an LOI and later on decide not to apply for a VMLRP application, there is no penalty. Essentially, we will likely contact you to confirm your intent not to apply, and then we'll move on. We won't be tracking that for the future. Next slide, please. Now we will discuss key documents you will submit for your VMLRP application. The application part 1 program form is a fillable PDF, which is available on our webpage, and it is also linked in the VMLRP NOFO. Jennifer will include a link to this in the chat. The next key document you will include is a resume, and this is a requirement of the application, and it is limited to 2 pages. An additional 3rd page is allowable, but only to include publications or patents. Next, you will include your unofficial transcripts from your professional veterinary degree program. If you attended more than one school during your DVM studies, unofficial transcripts from all schools must be provided. If your degree has not posted to your transcripts before the application deadline, provide an unofficial transcript that is up to date. Renewal applicants must submit unofficial transcripts, including coursework taken since the original VMLRP award. Please do not include your undergraduate transcripts with your VMLRP application. The next for key documents is your veterinary license and APHIS accreditation. We ask that you include a copy of your state veterinary license and your USDA APHIS accreditation status. We've provided a link on page 14 of the VMLRP NOFO for how to retrieve a copy of your APHIS accreditation. If you are applying as a graduating senior, you will obviously not have a license or APHIS accreditation yet. If you are offered an award, you will be required to provide both before your award is finalized. The next key document for your application is the professional narrative, which we will discuss in more detail on the next slide. Next up is your map. So first thing to know about this, it is not required for public practice type 3 shortage area applications. If you are applying to a type 1 or type 2 shortage area, you are required to submit a map that illustrates where your clinic is located and what areas you provide service to. You should focus on the must-serve and may-serve counties, but you may also highlight counties that are not listed in the shortage area if they are within your clinic practice. Any spatial features may be added to the map, such as circles, arrows, or points to highlight your specific service areas. Any spatial features added to the map are the only portion of the application that may be handwritten. Please make sure the map is clear and readable. Examples of shortage situation and practice area maps can be found on our webpage. Jennifer will include a link in the chat for our example maps. Okay, so the application part 1 program form, resume, unofficial transcripts, veterinary license, APHIS accreditation, professional narrative, and map are what you will submit by uploading a single PDF to your individual box folder no later than March 5th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There are several ways to make all these individual documents into a single PDF, which may include saving everything as a PDF and then combining them into a single PDF, or you may print everything and scan to a single PDF. The approach is totally up to you, but everything must be loaded as a single PDF. If you upload individual documents to your box folder, that will not be accepted as an appropriate application. If you do choose to print, you may consider keeping your map in color to make it as readable as possible. The last piece of your application are 3 recommendations completed using the application part 3 recommendation forms, which will be submitted directly to NIFA by your recommenders. We will discuss this in more detail on the next few slides. Next slide, please. Okay, let's discuss the professional narrative. This is where you will demonstrate that you understand the needs of the shortage area you are applying to serve, and that you have a plan to address the specific needs of the must-serve species. It should showcase any special training or unique skills that you have or that will be advantageous in mitigating the shortage. The narrative should describe your background, professional and personal goals, and planned activities to meet these goals. The professional narrative is your opportunity to tell the reviewers how you are the best fit candidate to fill the shortage area. There is specific guidance for the professional narrative on pages 14 through 18 of the VMLRP NOFO. And please note there are significant differences for new and renewal applicants. You are limited to 4 pages, 8.5 by 11 page size, 1-inch margins, 12-point font, and double-spaced text for the professional narrative. We've reduced the number of pages from previous years to simplify the application process. Applications exceeding the page limit will be declined without review. Please note that the VMLRP review panel considers grammar and spelling in the review and ranking of applicants. As such, we highly recommend proofreading the professional narrative for grammar and spelling. If possible, it is always helpful to have a trusted source review your professional narrative. Some DVM alumni associations or professional development departments may provide this service to you. USDA NIFA cannot provide feedback on your professional narrative. Next slide, please. Okay, now we'll discuss the recommendation. As mentioned, 3 recommendations are required. These could come from colleagues, producers, mentors, or anyone who can attest to your food animal veterinary skill or your personal ties to the community. A strong recommendation will be able to provide a detailed response to the questions of the application Part 3 recommendation form. It may be helpful to provide your recommender with the shortage area details so they can attest to your specific skills to serve the county's must-serve species and the listed activities. Please do not have a family member submit a recommendation on your behalf. Each recommender must complete the application Part 3 recommendation form. Handwritten responses on any part of this form will not be accepted, and your application will not be considered for an award. Recommendations can be submitted as part of the program document. Please see page 20 of the VMLRP NOFO, or recommendations can be emailed directly to us at vmlrp.applications@usda.gov. They can also be faxed. That information is also on page 20 of the VMLRP NOFO. Most recommenders feel most comfortable sending an email directly to NIFA staff, and the great majority of recommendations are submitted this way. We will update the recommender's submission verification form in your box folder once we've received a recommendation. This is your best way to monitor if your recommendation has been submitted and accepted by NIFA staff. As a reminder, it is your responsibility to follow up with your recommender to ensure that they are submitted before the March 5th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time deadline. All right, next slide, please. Now we will discuss the application submission. So your letter of intent must be received by February 19th, 2026 at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. NIFA will then establish a box folder for each applicant. You will upload a single PDF titled Program Document. This information is on page 20 of the VMLRP Notice of Funding Opportunity. Please make sure your program document is inside the box folder. It should be in the same folder as your recommender's submission verification form that NIFA staff are updating. Applicant access to your individual box folder will be removed at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, March 5th. NIFA only accepts electronic submission of applications through box.com. We recommend that you start the application process as early as possible to gather the required documents. Next slide. All right. Now we will provide some details on the loan verification documents. As Michelle previously mentioned, loan documents are no longer required at application. Loan documentation will be required when an applicant is recommended for a VMLRP award. If recommended, the following loan documentation must be submitted within 14 calendar days of award recommendation, combined into one master loan document in PDF and uploaded to box.com. If the documentation requested is not provided within the deadline, the application will not be considered for funding. NIFA may request additional information as needed during this review process. If you are offered a VMLRP award, the following will be required. Application Part 2 financial form, completely filled out, loan service account statement and individual loan details, federal student aid summary, loan summary, federal student aid individual loan details report, master promissory note for consolidated promissory note. This is only required for private lender loans or loans that have been consolidated, and it may not be available in the federal student aid documentation. For more description of each document, please visit the VMLRP loan document tutorial for details on preparing the loan documentation. If you have any questions, email vmlrp@usda.gov. You'll notice that is a different email that we ask you to ask loan document questions to than the vmlrp.applications. Please send all questions regarding loan documents to vmlrp@usda.gov. Please note, if your original award is from 2022 or older, applicants with consolidated loans must submit a list of loans that were included in consolidation. As a reminder, your loan documents should not be your focus before the March 5th application deadline and will only be required if you are offered a VMLRP award. If you uploaded your loan documents to your individual box folder, we ask that you remove them and save them in your personal files. Now I will hand it over to Marlene to discuss the application evaluation process and timeline. Thank you.
So we'll now review this process, and it's recommended to review this section carefully to understand how your application is being evaluated as a new or renewal application. After each proposal has passed an administrative review of the requirements set forth in the VMLRP NOFO, you will move on to the next level. Their reviewers are a part of a review panel and are selected based upon their training and experience related to this NOFO. At least 3 reviewers are assigned to review each proposal. Each reviewer will produce an individual written review of each proposal, evaluating the strengths and weaknesses. These written reviews are used to begin panel discussions with other reviewers serving on the peer review panel. Through these discussions, peer review panelists come to a consensus on the final rating and ranking of each proposal. There are a set of evaluation criteria outlined in the NOFO for new and renewal applicants. These are criteria for new and renewal applicants that are used by the peer review panel to review, rate, and rank an application. I will be reviewing renewal applicant criteria after new applicants. It is recommended to review the evaluation criteria sections applicable to your submission as a new or renewal applicant to understand what is being evaluated and then review that criteria compared to your application. As stated in the NOFO on page 4, there are updated evaluation criteria for new and renewal applicants compared from previous years. So it is recommended to read the NOFO thoroughly. The evaluation criteria for new applicants begins on page 23 of the NOFO. It is split by weighted percentages into 3 categories. The first category is expertise and experience. This is the area as an applicant to use your education, training, and experience to demonstrate your knowledge and skills to mitigate the needs indicated in the veterinary shortage situation area you are planning to apply. The next 2 categories for new applicants' evaluation criteria are achievability, sustainability, and fit to the shortage area, and then clarity and quality. These relate to the applicant's ability to demonstrate success in the shortage situation by evaluating proposed mitigation plans addressing short-term and long-term strategies, also addressing opportunities and the overall fit to the needs of the veterinary shortage situation you are applying. The last criteria is based on the overall clarity and quality of the application, which includes the professional narrative, resume, and map. Make sure to review formatting, spelling, and grammatical errors throughout your application. These are the set of evaluation criteria outlined in the NIFA for renewal applicants. It is recommended to review the evaluation criteria sections to your submission as a renewal applicant to understand what is being evaluated, and then review that criteria compared to your application. As stated previously, there are updated evaluation criteria renewal applicants that are different from previous years. So please read the NIFA thoroughly to understand what is currently being evaluated for this application cycle. The evaluation criteria for renewal applicants begins on page 23 of the NIFA. It is also split by weighted percentages into 3 categories. The first category is expertise and experience. This is the area as an applicant to use your education, training, and experience to demonstrate your knowledge and skills to mitigate the needs indicated in the veterinary shortage situation area you are planning to apply. The next 2 categories for renewal applicants in the evaluation criteria are impact, sustainability, and mitigation of the shortage area, and then thirdly, clarity and quality. The impact, sustainability, and mitigation section is different from the new applicant criteria in comparison to renewals evaluation criterion. This criterion relates to the goals accomplished, the services provided in the previous VMLRP service agreement, and what you plan to accomplish in this renewal. The last criteria is based on the overall clarity and quality of the application, which includes the professional narrative, resume, and map. So make sure to review formatting, spelling, and grammatical errors throughout your application. This is a general estimation timeline of competitive programs. It estimates 1 to 3 months from when the NIFA is released, applications are written, and application submission deadlines are met. It is estimated to take 3 to 5 months for applications to go under peer review and announce funding notifications. The last 1 to 2 months, awards are being finalized and made. On average, a competitive program takes about 4 to 6 months from the application due date to an award being made. We will keep you updated as much as possible and appreciate your patience throughout this process. For the fiscal year 2026 NIFA, VMLRP will make announcements of award by September 30th, 2026, which this information is found on page 26 in the NIFA. I will now pass it on to Michelle to provide additional information.
Thanks, Marlene. Jennifer, if we can move to the next slide. So if you're interested in other NIFA events or other funding opportunities, you can use the links provided on this slide to keep up to date on what is going on at NIFA. And that includes the events calendar, which talks about things like the technical assistance webinars, and as well as upcoming notice of funding opportunities that might be relevant more broadly to NIFA. If we move to the next slide, I promise contact information. So if you have very individual questions that you do not want to ask as part of this webinar, or think of a question after the webinar ends, you can reach out to us at vmlrp.applications@usda.gov for general and programmatic questions, and to vmlrp@usda.gov for financial and award administrative questions. This is in general for after you have received an award. And if we go to the last slide, In accordance with federal civil rights law and U.S. Department of Agriculture civil rights regulations and policies, the USDA, its agencies, offices, and employees and institutions participating in or administering USDA programs are prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, age, marital status, family parental status, income derived from a public assistance program, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity in any program or activity conducted or funded by USDA. Not all these bases is applied to all programs. Remedies and complaint filing deadlines vary by program or incident. The rest of this slide contains contact information for individuals with disabilities to request reasonable accommodations to participate in our programs. Language access services will be provided to limited English proficient individuals if you ask us. And anyone wishing to file a complaint can utilize the phone number, fax number, or postal mailing address that's listed at the bottom paragraph of this slide. We will now open the floor for questions. To start, I don't see anything in the Q&A, but I'm going to ask the team if I've missed anything in the Q&A, and if not, I believe you all should have the ability to verbally raise your hands. Not verbally raise your hands, raise your emoji hands, and then we can take you off mute so you can ask your question. I did see a question in the chat about the slides. If the webpage that you access to register for this webinar will be updated with the slides and the recording of this presentation.
Michelle, there's a few questions in the Q&A.
Okay.
The first one was, if you were previously turned down for an award, is it worth applying for a different area?
I think, yes, absolutely. It is worth applying for that area. I think, as we've said earlier, make sure that you review the shortage area and think about that when you're writing your narrative. You should also have received comments from the review panel as part of your declination package. So make sure you review those comments and think about those when you're preparing your next application. Danielle, anyone else on the team have anything they want to add to that?
The only thing I would add, is, as you mentioned, take into account the feedback of your individual reviews and your panel summary, and make sure you're addressing the weaknesses that were stated from your previous application.
Okay, and I do see we have somebody who's raised their emoji hand. So can someone unmute Dr. Jackie Aberly?
Yeah, do we want to finish the Q&A first and then go to hand raise, or do you want, because we had another Q&A before.
Let's do this one and then we'll go back to the Q&A, Jennifer.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Aberly, I believe I've set it so that you can unmute yourself now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so my question was just for the part 2 documentation that you had said that we can do if we get that it says that, we've been considered. What is the timing of that? Like, because you said the application is due that March date. So is that going to be shortly after that, or is it going to be within that timing, or like to look for that second part?
Very good question. So generally, and team, please correct me if I'm wrong, generally you should hear back from us in the late August, early September, September-y timeframe. And then once you hear from us, you'll have 2 weeks to supply those documents. Is that accurate, Marlene? Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, Jennifer, what's next in the queue?
The next one in the Q&A was from an Emily Snyder, and it should should references preferably be from the shortage area?
I think what we generally see is at least one from the shortage area or from a producer. They don't all have to be from the shortage area. They really should be able to talk to your ability to serve as a food animal veterinarian and your ability to serve in that shortage area, but not necessarily cover both at the same time. You might look at a set of 3 who can cover all of those aspects, but different aspects for each person.
Just to add to that, a strong recommendation will be able to provide detail to, the short answer responses. on the recommendation form, someone who's providing a 1 or 2 sentence response, you know, you might not see that, but you might guide them. If you don't feel like you could go into detail about these questions, then please let me know, and you might seek somebody else.
Do we have anything else in
Right,
the Q&A, Jennifer?
Yep. The next one, anonymous user says, what is different about the application process if your loans are consolidated?
I'm going to defer that one to either Danielle or Marlene.
First, the application process, the thing that has changed is you no longer have to submit loan documents at application. That's the biggest thing. We're not asking for your loan documents by March 5th. Okay, it's not a requirement. And from there, if you're offered an award, which you should be notified sometime in the summer, then you'll have 14 days to provide those loan documents. Marlene, would you like to mention anything else about the loan documents?
The request, like as far as the application process, it's the same, and when we request it, it's what you need to provide. And I would suggest you to reach out to the VMLRP at usda.gov on what those individual requirements would be if your loans are consolidated.
Okay, and the last one in the Q&A part is anonymous user. If you receive loan forgiveness for this example includes Utah, some without required commitment to the area, they just have you apply annually and after a year in the area and still have more than enough loan to be forgiven by VMLRP, do I still qualify?
So I think that's one of those places where you can reach out to us at vmlrp.applications@usda.gov and we will get you a response in writing. In general, if you don't have an explicit service commitment, so there's no full-time equivalent or 50% commitment to a particular state program, then we do not consider that a conflict with our program. But always better to get that in writing, so if anyone challenges it, you have it in black and white from us. All right, I see Nicole has her emoji hand raised, so I'm gonna allow your mic so you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello, thank you. So most of my producers do not have computers for religious reasons, and I would love to get a reference from them. And I know it has to come directly from the referencer, if that's the right word. Do you think that that's just something I shouldn't try to figure out, or because I saw that you guys said that we can't have handwritten references, which is totally understandable. I just don't know if there's another way around this.
I'm gonna let the rest of the team weigh in on that because they've been working on this program longer than I have when it's been no handwritten references.
In the past, with circumstances like this, we have requested a typed version of that along with the original handwritten with the signature of that recommender.
Okay, so then the link would go through me and I'd put that in the PDF file, their handwritten one.
And the electronic version, you can save it as 2 separate, would be fine. They don't have to be combined. But in the past, we've done that to accommodate those types of religious restrictions there. So
okay,
And
all right.
you can also use a facility like a bank that will fax that information in, and you can use the fax numbers.
Okay, so could I get them to fax it through my clinic as well? Like if I brought them down to the clinic or I faxed it for them?
yes, either way.
Okay, awesome.
We just
Thank
like
you.
to have a typed version to ensure clarity and consistency.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
I have some more in the Q&A if you're ready.
Okay, before we get to the Q&A, I think there's still a couple that have not been responded to in the chat.
Yes.
So the first one is there a limit on how many applicants may be awarded in one zone or area, one shortage area? In the past, we have been very strict about restricting this to one per shortage area. That is not included in this NOFO. We have not made a determination of what if any limits there will be. So the answer is right now, no, it's not limited to one, but we have not made a final determination about how many per shortage area. And I think some of that will depend on the number of applications and the amount of funding we have. And then there was another question, is it more beneficial to use a producer as a recommender? I'm assuming this is versus a doctor of veterinary medicine acquaintance. I think it really depends on who can talk to your ability to serve in that shortage area. So if you have someone as a veterinarian who knows that you and how you practice and how you can address that shortage area, that's great. A lot of our reviewers, at least when I've been involved in the past, have been thrilled to get recommendations from producers. You get 3, so you can have one of each. Anyone else have anything to add there?
That was perfect.
All right. Yay, I got a gold star. All right, Jennifer,
Also,
what else do we have in the Q&A?
in the chat, we also have, you know, there's some questions about how many recommendations are required. 3 are required. Someone is asking if they can ask 4 different recommenders to submit. Only 3 will be included in your application. And if they're submitting directly to us, you won't, you know, have the opportunity to read them. So, you know, if you're seeing that somebody hasn't submitted your recommendation, you may ask somebody else to submit. That's completely up to you. Only 3 will move forward. If we receive 4, we will be reaching out to confirm with you on which 3 that you want. But if you don't respond to us in a timely manner, we will select those 3.
Thanks, Danielle. All right, Jennifer, back to you.
All right, so let me scroll back down to the last one here. Does your practice need to cover the entirety of the shortage area, or could you receive an award if you're serving most of the shortage area?
The answer to that is it depends. And that is one of the things that we do is we look at applicants' ability to address the entirety of the shortage area. So if there are 2 applicants in a shortage area, all who have the same qualifications, everything else being equal, and someone else says they can address the entirety of the shortage area, and that is in a way that is persuasive to the panel, then that person would probably get the award over another person who's only addressing half to 3/4. In this case, since we do have, we're not limited to just one. If both of those applicants score very well, it is possible that you will both get awarded. You do not have to address the entire shortage area. Well, I think the most important thing is to be realistic in your application. So I know there are some states out there that have some really big shortage areas, and it's just not physically possible to address those. I think telling the best story about how you are going to address the part of the shortage area that you can really well is way more important than addressing an entire ginormous shortage area.
Awesome. Thanks. The next one is our undergraduate loans considered for, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, can I add to that? If there is a must-serve county that you are not serving, you may use your narrative to describe how you will potentially be able to serve that shortage area that's listed as must-serve in the future.
Thank you, Danielle. That's a really good point.
Next one is are undergraduate loans considered for repayment?
No, it has to be your qualifying DVM loan debt.
Next one is please clarify the award amount information regarding tax liability.
So the awards this
Is that
year
the-
are for 40. Go ahead.
Oh, I
For
was just
40
I was hoping for some clarity on that one, if he was asking for the total liability, because that's found in the slides.
Yeah. So in the notice of funding opportunity, what happened is when the bill was introduced and passed in Congress, it did not include an exemption from a tax exemption as with other loan repayment programs. And so what we have done in this program is that we've built in the funds to provide to applicants or awardees to mitigate that up to 39% of that loan as tax liability. So we would pay $40,000 a year in quarterly payments to your loan servicer. And then there's an additional, it's 15,600. What is it? Marlene, I'm going to ask you to jump in on this one, but there's an additional amount for tax liability that's paid for you to pay off to help pay your taxes, your federal taxes, since this is considered a taxable award. Oh, we have Kelly Van Almen. Yay, Kelly. I'll let you chime in. But we have to unmute you. Give me just a second. There you go, Kelly.
Hey everybody. I'm not normally on these calls, so this is exciting for me. I'm one of the folks that assists in everybody getting money in the right place. The money you earn from the VMLRP repayment generates a 1099. You will get that in the mail. You are responsible for your own taxes. We will give you 39% of what we pay within that calendar year towards your taxes. If there is an overpayment or an underpayment, whatever that may be, but it will be made by 39% of what is released to you in Clear's Treasury by at 39%. The maximum taxable rate for the current tax cycle is 37% last I checked. So a little bit extra to buffer whatever costs you may incur for that. So whatever your approved repayment is for whatever is released within that calendar year, you'll get 39% of towards your taxes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm gonna let you stay on with your mic accessible so that you can chime in if you feel a need to later. And Marlene did put more information on the actual numbers for the loan amount and tax liability and a link to additional information on the taxes and 1099-G in the chat for folks. Are there other questions in the Q&A, Jennifer?
Yeah, I'm trying to answer some of them because we're running out of time and we have several in there. One theme I'm seeing here, I'm just going to recommenders send recommendations directly to VMLRP staff. We will process those. Do not include them in your packets.
Wait,
and then let me see.
Hang
if
on,
there's anything
Jennifer.
else.
Hang on, Jennifer.
Yeah.
So, and we'll take all the time that we have that we need to answer questions.
Okay.
But you can include your recommendations in your program document. Most recommenders submit their recommendations directly to us via email or fax. It's in rare cases that people include them in their program document. At this time, it is allowed.
Because yeah, I've seen a couple of questions about that specifically. Let's see. There's a question about loan documents. I know you recommended gathering loan documents ahead of time after submitting the application. The loan amounts remaining will be different at the time I submit my documents, since I am actively paying on them. From when how does this work when repayment amount since I'm currently making payments? So I guess they just provide updated documents when they're asked.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, my computer's like refreshing the chat and the Q&A at the same time.
Jennifer, there's a question in the chat about a map and what to include.
Yes, yeah, I think
your-
I tagged you in that one there.
Yes, if we can just, so So Megan, it sounds like you might be applying to a joint state shortage area, which means that shortage area was nominated by 2 different states to include counties in one state and counties in another state. If that is the case, then your map should showcase which of those counties from both states you are serving. If you are saying that you're applying to a shortage area only from one state, but you also provide services in another state, you'll have to make a decision in which shortage area you're going to apply to serve. And your map, as discussed earlier, it should show your clinic locations. So if you have 2 locations, indicate that on the map, and definitely indicate which must-serve counties you're serving, which may serve counties you're serving, and also other counties that you're serving. That is all allowable on your map. I hope that answers your question. If not, please reach out to us at vmlrp.applications@usda.gov and we'll try to be more specific about your case.
And Danielle, she also asked about whether the time worked in both clinics count towards the service hours. The time worked in the shortage area is what counts towards your service for the program. So if you're looking at 2 different shortage areas, whichever one you apply to and are awarded, that's the one where we would count your service hours, and that those must serve and may serve counties.
All right, I've got one in the Q&A from Tanner Drum, and it's about time requirements. For example, a type 2 needs 30% of practice based on 40-hour work week. Does that mean that regardless of hours worked, 12 hours in the area are needed to meet the requirement? Or would it scale with hours worked? For example, if I work 50, does that increase the required number of hours per week?
Nope, we do not want to disincentivize you from working more hours if that's what you choose to do to serve your clients. Our requirements are based on a 40-hour work week. And we're assuming that we're the federal government, so we assume everyone works a 40-hour work week. If you work more than that, and you've gotten your 12 hours, that's totally fine. Anything else in the Q&A, Jennifer?
Yeah, it's kind of lagging for me. So sorry, it says new post, but then when I click, there's nothing there. So let me scroll back down because now there's a bunch.
All right, well, while you're oh, go ahead, sorry.
Yep. If the funds for taxes is more than what we need to cover the taxes, do we need to make sure the excess is returned?
No.
Thank you.
Everybody's tax bracket's going to vary. So if you fall into a 24% or a 37%, it's up to you. We're not going to be the tax police. So this is built into the award, and it's a benefit is equal distributed amongst all participants. So there you go. No.
I'm glad I left Kelly's mic enabled.
Yeah, very helpful. Another one regarding payments. If awarded funding, how does the payments in our loan provider work? I believe someone mentioned that money is sent quarterly, but my current payments are monthly. Will these quarterly payments be made at the beginning of the quarter to pay those 3 months in advance?
I can take it. Ultimately, we'll be told when to make payments based upon when you submit the documents to whoever your liaison, I'll say. So you've met your hours, or you've met whatever requirements you've submitted your I forget the name of the form, but you've submitted your request to have those payments released. At that time, we will continue. We'll start to work those payments. It is made quarterly, and ideally it will be made quarterly unless somebody is not compliant in some form or fashion, or asking to be delayed in some form or fashion, and that could delay things. Michelle, can you unmute Katie?
It's already done.
Thanks. Go ahead, Katie.
Oh,
Hey,
there you go, Katie.
hi. This is Katie Claren with the Awards Management Division. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can answer this question for you here, but simply we pay payments quarterly to the loan servicers, and any other payment arrangements that you have need to be between yourself and the servicer. You can look up student loan website options on their website, look at payment options, and then talk with your servicer about what your options are, whether there's an ability to like pay your principal only or pay payments forward, or whatever situation works for you specifically. But our payments do go out every 3 months starting after the first quarter of services.
And Katie and Kelly, can you all verify in a shutdown situation, because this happened back in 2019, we are not considered essential employees. And so there is a chance that your payment will not be made if we happen to be shut down during that payment period time. So I want to make sure that you all, everyone here is aware, it's your responsibility to make sure your loans are paid and make sure that our payments go into the system and alert us if there's a problem.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you both.
Yeah, that's outside of our control. I will say that when we return to office, we will do our darndest to make the catch up, but we can't control what's done at Congress at this level now.
That's correct. Thank you both. And I think there is a question in here, if awarded, what is the reporting requirement after the fact beyond loan documentation? So there is a quarterly verification of employment and of service. So you have to fill out a form and check that you are meeting your service requirement, and that you are still in the same service area, working in the same place, etc. If you change employers or go out on your own and start your own mobile clinic, you need to notify us of any of those types of changes. And it's that form that that was what Kelly was referring to. If you don't complete your verification form, then we don't have your attestation that you have met your service requirement, and so then we will not process a payment. So we need to get that form completed before you do that. And then Marlene, do you want to talk about? Well, Marlene came off mute, and then we'll go to Kelly.
I just wanted to add on the record is that on page 27 of the notice of funding opportunity, it outlines expected program outputs and reporting requirements. And so those are listed there, of those types of expectations from the program side as well as the financial side.
Thanks, Marlene. Kelly, go ahead.
For the note takers in the room, change pens, get a highlighter, whatever you want to do. But if it's been said once, I'm going to say it 3 more times and try and foot stomp this. If you get 2 years into this program and you change your bank, or you change your address, or you change your lender, or you find out that before us, you let us know. Failing to do that is going to delay payments and frustrate situations. So if I could foot stomp it, I would. But just keep in mind that when you get that quarterly verification, we're asking if anything's changed: address, banking, etc. Last name, you get the idea. But we need to know those things. There's no mechanism in place for us to be alerted other than you letting us know. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. That's a really important reminder. All right, Jennifer, anything else in the Q&A?
Oh yeah, we got a good build up here. What if you don't have a true location for your clinic because it's ambulatory, and do you use your home address instead?
You can use your home address or whatever. If you have an LLC, wherever your business address is located, you can use that. Just make sure that you include on your map how your shortage area is, and you can use whichever address is most convenient for those purposes.
Okay. Next question: what are the odds of getting an award based on being an established clinic in a new area or currently inhabited area with? I'm not really understanding the question. I guess it's a new clinic versus an established practice.
Our reviewers don't tend to look at that as much as they look at how compelling your narrative is about how you're going to address the service area. And we actively work to make sure that we are being as unbiased as possible when it comes to new graduates versus experienced practitioners. It really comes down to what's in your narrative. And Marlene, I see you're off mute, so feel free to chime in.
And this is a good opportunity from there to look at that evaluation criteria for new or renewal applicants to determine what is this peer reviewer going to be reviewing towards. So take a peek at that.
Good point, Marlene. Thanks.
All right. How does it work with areas that are highly seasonal and livestock work? For example, hours for cattle work in the fall are 60+ hours a week versus in July, it's almost nothing.
So I'm going to ask Marlene to chime in on that, but we do try and be as flexible as possible.
Yes, and if you have issues or you predict you will have issues, please reach out to us via email during that time frame. And so to review the situation and circumstances and develop a plan of options available based on those circumstances.
Thanks, Marlene.
All right, next one, probably around the same answer here. The grant for my area strictly says beef cattle. We serve beef cattle, but it varies weekly. Are we able to apply for hours done on other food animals like dairy, goat, and sheep towards that 12-hour requirement?
So the beef would be the must serve, and there's generally, I think right now, one must serve species, or that's what we're moving towards. Any other livestock species is considered may serve. And so, yes, those hours would count, but we do like to see, especially in those seasons when there's a lot of beef work, that the predominance of your work is in the must serve species.
And it's up to
I just want to make a note that the shortage nomination map, the veterinary shortage area map, when you click on those shortage IDs and it provides all of the details of your shortage area, right now it is only listing the must serve species. We're working on getting it updated where it will say may serve all other agricultural or food animals. Just know that is something that will be updated on our website, and that's how we will be, initiating awards.
Thanks, Danielle. Marlene, did you have something else to add to, or are you good? Okay.
Okay.
All right, Jennifer, what's next?
How is maternity and paternity leave handled?
Marlene?
Yes. We have an individual process when it comes to that time. So those that are awarded will reach out to us as at least 30 days prior to due dates or as soon as practical to go through that process. So
Thanks, Marlene.
Next.
From a finance standpoint, I'll just say generally we extend you by however long you were on leave. So if you took 90 days, it would just make that repayment period extend 90 days on the end. It would just shift that to the end of the.
It's updated, Kelly. It's the process.
Well, that's how it's been, but thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next one. What happens if you're selected for this award and then move out of the shortage area partway through 2027? Is there a penalty or do you have to pay NIFA back for the first half of the year?
So that's where it's really important to reach out to us proactively as soon as possible. In general, if this is something that's beyond your control, you need to move for family, you need to move for a different business opportunity, etc. There is a waiver process, so you are not required to pay any penalties or pay back the part of the loan repayment that you've already received. But you do need to reach out to us proactively and make sure that we get all the paperwork in place to make that happen.
Okay, next one. What document is needed to show the proof of USDA accreditation status?
It looks like Marlene and I both answered that, but if you look at page 14 of the VMLRP NOFO, there is a link and specific instructions on how to obtain that proof. And if you follow the instructions from that link, you'll be given a document and essentially print that to PDF or save it in your own files. And that's what you will include in your program document.
Thanks, Danielle. Jennifer, what's next?
I'm not seeing anything new in Q&A. Is anybody else seeing anything?
I do have one in the chat while we're checking the Q&A. So, and
Okay.
asks, how does serving equine needs within a shortage area count? Would it fall under may serve? The answer is yes. We generally prefer to see folks doing equine that is agriculturally related. So farm horses, work horses, etc. But equine does count under may serve if it's not listed as the must serve species. Any other questions?
Just now, it's just to confirm, you don't have to necessarily live in the practice area or have your practice based there. You just have to serve the area.
Correct. Your narrative has to discuss how you will serve the shortage area. If you are outside of the shortage area, it's probably a very good idea to identify that, yes, you are aware you're outside of the shortage area, and this is how you plan to extend your shortage, your practice's service to address the shortage area. That is something that reviewers, these are peer reviewers, so there are a lot of practitioners on our panels, so they're going to look at this and say, and look at, does the plan make sense?
Also, just a reminder that your map is going to be a really great place to illustrate this. You're not going to include your home address, but you will include your clinic address. And even if it's outside the shortage area, you'll be able to illustrate visually how you do serve that area.
All right. Anything else?
I'm not seeing anything new come in.
Okay. All right. Well, as I said, we'll need some time to process the transcripts from this and get it posted. So give us till the end of the week. But we hope to have this up on the same site that you registered to attend. And Danielle, is everyone that's attended, they're going to get a link to that at least, right?
Everyone that's registered. So even
Okay.
if they weren't able to attend, we'll be sending them the recording and a PDF of the slides.
Perfect. So you do not have to go back and keep refreshing that page. We will send you an email with a link so that you can access the materials from the presentation today. Thank you all very much for your time.